All right. Sit down, you want to stand up? How do you want to
Whatever's good for you. Your call. Whatever makes you comfortable.
Let's go. Stand up.
So, Charles, I've been living right nearby for over 10 years now, and for as long as I've been here, I've been a fan and a patron of your bookstand. How long have you been at this location, 67th and Columbus?
More than 20 years.
Were you ever working a bookstand anywhere else?
Yeah, when I began, I actually had a stand. I liked the Strand had a stand that probably still does on the park on Fifth Avenue between 62nd and 64th Street. So I went a little bit further down and set up a stand on that side of the park. That was back when New York, they still had what was called New York as book country.
Oh, yeah?
And they actually closed down parts of Fifth Avenue and let publishers and book dealers and children's books, all kinds of books. And it was quite an affair. Of course, they haven't done that in decades, unfortunately. But that's where I originally set up. And then, of course, the first day I was there, well, maybe the second day I was there, I set up blankets on the ground because I felt that was the best way to actually display the books, so you could actually see the dust jackets, see the title of the book, as opposed to the way it is here, which is pretty much you just look at the binding. And I had a tremendous crowd. I was amazed. About 6 or 7 guys. And I said, wow, it's going to be a great day. So after I set the whole stand up, these 6 or 7 guys come up to me and say, we're from the police department, and you're not allowed to set up books on the park. So I said, gee, it's nice of you to tell me, that I've set it all up.
All nice, yeah.
All right, so from there I went to the Museum of Natural History. Mm-hmm. That took me over to the west side. Mm-hmm. And of course, after a while, they chased me from there. I went across the street, and then I decided to come down a little further downtown here. And it was the summer at that point, and it was hot. And the
summer of what year? Do you remember?
97, 98.
All right, cool.
And there were trees and shade, so I said, and there's a wine store, a post office. First, I actually thought I'd set up in front of the post office. But there were, at that time, these trees that you see now that do provide shade were very small, and there was no shade. So I just came over here, and I've been here ever since.
Well, it's great to have you here, and I hope you don't go anywhere else. I always feel like you're part of the neighborhood.
People in the neighborhood don't think I'm part of the neighborhood, which explains the 20 years of unremitting hostility to the stand.
I was actually...
Why we end up in the United States District Court.
I am happy to tell you, Charles, I was at a meeting at the Church of Latter-day Saints last Thursday. It was a local police precinct meeting where people from the community come together and they talk about crime and things in the neighborhood. Somebody actually brought you up in that meeting, which might have even had part of me saying, and I stood up for you and said you're a fabric of the community. And the police also said that you're a great guy and very reasonable and swell. Now,
which officer said that?
I'll get their names. I have it in my cell phone. I'll pull it up.
It wasn't the captain, was it? Because they have a new captain.
I don't know.
Survived about 6 or 7 captains.
I do know a couple times because I did say,
what was the nature of the comment? The original comment. What was it?
It was a woman who said that you have 4 tables, and you're only allowed to have 1.
I'm only allowed. Isn't that nice?
Isn't that nice?
You should have told her to take off a mask and take a look around the city. Take a look at what they have done here, okay? I think they have a lot more to worry about than my 4 tables, all right? And they have, you can basically put a toe tag on the city of New York, all right? They have destroyed the city. This city is DOA. And frankly, contrary to some popular opinion, it ain't coming back for a long, long time if it comes back at all. It will take a tremendous reversal of a certain mentality that does not understand what makes a city run. And what makes a city run are people like me and the 10,000 other vendors whose livelihoods have been destroyed by not the virus, but by the arrogance of those in power who think that they have the, quote, well, they do have the authority. The question is, and becomes, do they have the lawful authority to destroy people's livelihoods? And the destruction of those livelihoods, the destruction of those jobs, the destruction of those lives, families, occurred when it occurred. Those who are the loudest in terms of their proclamation of how they stand for the working man, and I include Governor Cuomo, Mayor de Blasio, I include Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, they were silent. The silence was deafening. One of the reasons that I wrote When the Servants Become the Masters is that I had been at home at that point for about 2.5 months. Till May, almost 2 months. And I had to listen every day, almost 6 hours, first from Governor Cuomo, and then from Governor Murphy, and then from Mayor de Blasio, and 6 hours every day, pounding the necessity, well, actually what they called that I had the luxury of staying home. And that offended me very greatly.
No, because your shop was closed for a period of time, right?
Well, not only that, actually the very day before they declared emergency,
mm-hmm.
they thought it was important enough to have the police come and take my stand. So they actually destroyed the stand in March. So I basically came back in May, and I've been here ever since, and I've reconstructed my stand.
I heard, this is a rumor, were you once a lawyer? Previously to working at the stand?
I was.
Because I hear that you've done remarkably well at getting your books back after they've confiscated them from you.
It's quite a process, actually. It's a very interesting process. People should be made aware of it.
Please, we'd love to hear it.
You know, and I actually looked at your pictures, your photographs. You took photographs.
Yeah, the video. The video, yeah.
Thank goodness you did, because it's very helpful to me in terms of identifying who participates in these things. But I'm going to give you an idea of the evolution of the city, which is
and how you were able to get the books back.
Well, yeah, it's just we had gotten to the point in terms of the hostility to the stand, where, and I have the highest regard for the members of the police department, highest regard. I've helped them. First, you have to understand something. Book vendors are not the enemy of the city.
Especially you.
Not just me, though. It's street vendors generally. All of the urbanologists, from Jane Jacobs to White, a couple of other guys, have written about the fact that, and this is a fact, the more street vendors, the safer the city. Because the more street vendors actually reflect that the vendors understand that there are enough people here to support a vending business, which, by the way, no longer the case. But the vendors understand that, and the vendors have an interest, direct interest, of course, immediate interest in having a safe environment in which to operate.
Absolutely.
So when things happen, vendors take note. So, of course, the evolution of this neighborhood is interesting. Years ago, there was a Reebok across the street.
Yeah, the Reebok Sports Club.
Reebok.
Just changed
and every
recently.
day, some guy would come, and he would station himself. At that time, we didn't have a bicycle lane, so there'd be parked cars. He would hide behind the parked cars. He would observe the Reebok store. When the salespeople moved to the back of the store, he would run across the street, go through the front door, and grab as much as he could, and run out. And one of the local detectives came by. You guys see it? And we told him, this guy is a regular. So he said, the next time you see him, give me a call. Which we did. And before you know it, the guy comes running out with his 10 shirts and about 10 cops jump on him. Plainclothes cops. The kind of cops they don't like to have anymore. And they did their job. They didn't beat the guy up. I don't know what, I'm sure the guy was released, after, he got his short slap of the noodle.
Yeah.
Right, and they succeeded in thwarting what was a very profitable bootlegging operation against Reebok. And we were instrumental in it, not just me, but my vendor mate here, Dom Guy. We've been together 20 years from Senegal, and he was instrumental. At that time, I didn't even have a cell phone.
Yeah.
So he was the one who called it.
I was going to ask you, because sometimes I notice you're not here, and there's another gentleman who looks out after over the stand. What was his name again?
Dom Guy.
And spell his last name, G-U-I?
Dameguye.
Dame Guy.
Dame Guy.
Where's Dame from?
Senegal.
Senegal?
Senegal. Yeah.
What about now?
He's back in Senegal.
Oh, he is?
Probably be back in January.
All right, I hope to see him again soon. Where do you live these days?
I live in Bloomingdale, New Jersey. I'm born in Brooklyn, Sheepshead Bay.
Nice one. Yeah, I remember seeing that.
I lived in Bayside, Queens. And, I consider myself a New Yorker through and through because I'm here pretty much, or used to be, from 5 in the morning to 11 o'clock at night. So that pretty much qualifies me as a neighborhood guy.
So when you were working as a lawyer, what inspired you to make the transition out and work in books?
It wasn't my idea. And so if you want to go through the history of my disbarment, which is a rather unique story in and of itself, we'll go into it. But I don't think today's particularly the day to do that.
All right.
But in any event, however it happened, I really was left with not much other choice. Books, knowledge has always been a passion of mine, and I had, at that point in time, about 400,000 volumes of books, because I thought that was going to be a good idea. Before Amazon existed, while I was still practicing, I used to go to an old shop in Trenton. It's probably the last bookstore in Trenton, New Jersey. It's called Acres of Books. 2 stories high. It's on State Street. And I used to go there every day. There was an old professor from the University of Pennsylvania, retired. And his store was unique in the sense that really old-fashioned. He didn't have bookcases. He had fruit crates. And these fruit crates were from California in the 30s. They were real crates with all the illustrations on them and everything else. And inside the crates, you would have the books stacked. And it was a remarkable store. One day I passed by, it was closed. I'd never seen the store closed. And the next day, there was a sign saying, sale. Apparently the professor had passed away. His son inherited the store, as happens with people who are passionate about books. Many times their children don't want to have much to do with books, and all this guy was interested in was to get rid of the books. And he made me an offer which I could not, as a book lover, refuse, which was essentially, you take the books and you can have them. Just get them out of here.
What's been your strategy? I'm sure you don't want to reveal too many of your tricks, but I always notice the collection expands and you've included vinyl. How do you usually go about hunting these down?
I have book scouts that travel the city looking for books, and this is probably more books on the island of Manhattan than anywhere in the world. And so it's a fertile area for discovery. And it's tragic when you see books literally thrown away.
Just left outside sometimes.
That's right. Abandoned to the elements, and many times they end up in the garbage, which is a real tragedy because a lot of the books are worthwhile for young students, musicians, all kinds of people. I saw all kinds of books. So that's one source. But the ultimate source in the end, and this is what I've tried to emphasize to people, the ultimate source in the end is the neighborhood.
Is what?
Is the neighborhood.
Oh yeah, donations?
This is the single most generous neighborhood in the entire world when it comes to donating books. And the people all say the same thing. I hope they can go to someone who will appreciate them, which generally is the case, if they don't end up at a police property depot. But they will always come here and say, I can't throw them out. I can't throw a book out, which is wise, and they shouldn't. And they don't, and they bring them here. So my stand always survives because, in fact, the neighborhood votes with their feet and brings the books here. And it expands. You see it as it's expanding rather dramatically right here, because what you see is, unfortunately, a lot of donations and not many customers. So when that happens, I do get an expansion. But it's in the end, hopefully, it's to the good, and the books that come are certainly worthwhile. And I'm delighted. I have so many friends here that I've made over the years. All kinds of people. I mean, it's the regular folk of professors, poets, actors, actresses. I get celebrities, Robert Klein, Dustin Hoffman, Tom Hanks. But they are the most important people. The most important people are just the regular people who walk by and say hello and say hi, how you doing, and all the rest. Whenever they see the stand, if the stand has been demolished or taken away, they will restock it. So.
Do you have some favorite titles that you've read over the years from your youth to your current age, Charles?
I like Frederick Exley. Frederick Exley's a New York writer. He wrote a book called The Fan's Notes, and he wrote Pages from a Cold Island and he won't have one other book. He's an alcoholic from Watertown, New York, but he's got extraordinary insight into what makes the city run, what makes human beings run. So I enjoy him. He's relatively hard to come by in terms of, I would call him now a rather obscure writer, but those who have read him like him passionately, or almost a cult of Frederick Exley readers. That's one. Of course, I like Ernest Hemingway. You can't, as far as I'm concerned, beat The Old Man in the Sea. Guy who goes out in a boat for 83 days and catches nothing, uses the same technique because he knows it's good and he knows he's good, and catches the biggest fish that anybody's ever caught.
Yeah.
So to me, that shows a lot of nobility, tenacity, all the things that you need to live a life in this city, or for that matter, anywhere else.
Are you a fan of music?
Very much so.
Could you right now pick a song that you think summarizes New York City during the pandemic?
Yeah, well, that would be a dirge. But I'm not going to pick a dirge. So
Okay.
I would really encourage people. During the pandemic, I was at one of my storage units, and I happened to go on to Google, and I was looking for something, and I came across a song by Master KG called Jerusalem. And I started listening to it, and I'm 70 years old, and I couldn't help but start to dance to it.
Hell yeah. What was the name of that again?
Jerusalem.
Jerusalem by Master KG.
Master KG, young African singer, a woman sings the song. Master KG produced it. It's a wonderful song. I would recommend it for any New Yorker to listen to. It does capture the spirit of the city. It makes you move, and that's what a city's all about. I remember when, I was 7 years old, came in Manhattan for the first time. It was from Brooklyn at that time. And in Brooklyn, the highest structure I ever saw on 21st Street was a three-story buildings, houses, little houses, and, like apartments and that kind of thing. And then we walked through the Port Authority and came out. It was a diner, and the sun was shining brightly. It was cold, it was brisk. And I looked up. I couldn't believe it. I just was floored. And then I looked down, and there was like an undulating stream of people. An undulating stream of people. It was like an ocean of people. And I'm a little guy, I'm 7 years old. And then I looked at the traffic, and it was an undulating stream of traffic and cars, and there was nothing like it. That's New York. Not what you see today. What you see today is a mob. But that's the city. If you actually people want to do themselves good, aside from listening to Jerusalem, you should watch films, because New York has been captured in films, the real New York. You should watch Working Girl. Watch the beginning of Working Girl, which also takes off on Let the Rivers Run by Carly Simon. I think it's her best song.
All right.
And if you watch that, if you see the people on the ferry,
okay.
Wow. They are, we're not talking about social distancing. We're talking about the city. Mm-hmm. And we're talking about people coming off, people walking, and the sheer humanity of it, the verve of it. That's who we are. Watch an old movie, 1,000 Clowns, with Jason Robards. At the beginning of that movie, he says, "Hey, you're going to see a terrible thing." When the little boy goes, "What's that?" People going to work. The music starts, and you see the city come to life. I've been here at 5, 6 in the morning when it starts, or it used to be, and it's a remarkable scene. But what it shows you is that a city, in order to survive, must have people, it must have commerce, it must have business, it must have all the things that the governor of this state decided were not essential. And in fact, that is the most essential thing about the city of New York. And we owe that. We owe that not only to the living and the next generations that come. Our living, L'chaim is the word, all right, is a tribute to the dead. Tradition is a democracy of the dead. Jack Kennedy said, what's the use of losing our lives if we don't maintain our traditions? Keeping our lives if we don't maintain our traditions. And that's our job, okay? Our job is to keep the city functioning. Also, our job is not to shut it in, lock it up. You destroy a city. Freedom built New York, and the absence of freedom will kill it, and is killing it, and may have just killed it.
Well, I wanted to end on this note. I mean, there's been a lot of, back and forth in the media about New York City and its heartbeat. Is New York City dead? Now, I'm standing here right now, here with you, Charles. I don't think it's dead. I think there's a road ahead for us. What do you think? Do you think it's dead?
Yes, it's dead. You want me to take a walk around the neighborhood with you and show it?
Yeah, let's check it out.
Because nobody will be here to watch the books. I don't have to worry because nobody will take it in. But if you walk up to the corner, you see the great liberals who run this city. They mock the concept of trickle-down economics. You could hear.
Oh, from Reagan.
Oh, trickle down. What a terrible thing! What a terrible thing! Trickle down. Well, let me show you what trickle down is.
Sure.
To a vendor, okay? Take a walk up to the theater. I'm not going to do it right now.
All right.
You can walk up to that theater. It's boarded up.
Yep.
A movie theater is boarded up.
Yep.
All right. That means that the people who make the movies don't make any money. Okay. So
they're going through some tough times. Yeah.
That's right. The money that would come in from people going to watch the films and enjoying them doesn't come in, so nothing trickles down.
And they don't go to Il Violino. They don't get the coffee beforehand at Joe's.
Nothing trickles down. And you go across the street over there. It's been vacant for 2 years. Lowe's the same way. Hardware store. I
know, it came and it went. That was interesting to see. Small business, I think, prevailed.
I may be the last of the Mohicans on this block, aside from the wine store and the pharmacy. You'll notice 3 of our stores here have closed. They're gone.
Yeah.
They're gone and they ain't coming back.
There's a Just Salad that's going to be opening up over here to get some. Yeah,
not that. There won't be that many people there.
It's a chain store. That's what's rolling in.
And you got Century 21. Now you might mock Century 21. But Century 21 employed hundreds of people. Thousands of people went there every day to shop, all right? And those people get hungry, and they go outside. And you see the vendor that's out there?
Yeah.
Maybe he'd have 1,000 customers a day. Today, there used to be a line every time I went there.
I know.
Today I'll go there and there'll be nobody there. Nobody. Same thing for the hamburger guy. The same thing for the empanada lady. Same thing for me. So I go from making maybe $100 a day, if you're lucky, to making 10. All right? You can't survive on 10. All right? So the trickle down is essential. It shouldn't be mocked. Okay? When stores close, businesses close, the people who inhabit those and work in those places aren't here to buy anything. Either clothing or food or books or anything else. You destroy that. You encourage people to stay away, wear masks, don't go near anybody. You destroy a city. And that's not hundreds of thousands of lives. That's millions of lives.
Well, I hope that we continue to see you on this corner, alive and well, for many years to come, Charles. I appreciate your service, and I appreciate your time talking to me today. Let's go check out your vinyl right now.
I don't have any vinyl out today.
No vinyl out? No, it's cool.